Good afternoon, and welcome to K2's Road to Excellence Part 4 and our partner Intuit. This is Alan Salmon, and I'm pleased to be with you again. The usual bit of introduction. Marilyn Benninger is, of course, backing me up today, and she is your go-to person for technical issues and for questions. Your microphone is muted for obvious reasons. You can welcome to make notes, but realize that you are going to get within 10 days of today a package of material that will include Ward Blatch's teaching notes, the webinar recording, any information from Intuit that's relevant, and your CPD certificates, and any of the questions that you ask through the chat window. Please ask them there. What happens is after the seminar, Marilyn takes all the questions, splits them up. We'll send them to Ward and Jeffrey, and when you get your package, you will have all the questions and all of the answers. And speaking of CPD certificates, 4 times today, Marilyn is going to stop the presenters and put up a polling question. That's a multiple choice, usually 4 possible answers, and you don't need to get the answers right. What you do need to do is select one possible answer and click on Submit. That date stamp or time stamps your file. And if you're recorded as answering 3 of the 4, you'll get a CPD certificate for 1 verifiable hour. If you don't, it'll be 1 non-verifiable hour. I get a break today. My partner, Ward Blatch, has an interesting topic surrounding identity theft. Certainly a huge concern of mine. So without further ado, Marilyn, let's bring Ward on board.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. I'm making you the presenter now, Ward.
Okay. Very exciting. How's everybody doing this morning? I hope you're all doing well. Hopefully you see my screen. That's a slide that says identity theft.
Yes, we do. You have the COM.
Oh, I have the COM. Gee. Thank you, Captain. So this session is going to be on identity theft. Just to get ourselves started here, you all should have already signed up for our Office Tips newsletter. That's the most popular way that we present links to these ongoing webinar series. So let's look to start off with a few security trends. This is at Verizon's data breach investigation report. This comes out once a year. We should see it, the updated one very soon. And it just talks about where the most identity theft occurs or data breaches are occurring. Fall into 9 different categories, and these same 9 categories have been around for quite some time. So I know lots of people worry about one thing versus another, but if you look at this list, it's interesting how point of sale is very high, but the one I want to really call your attention to is privilege misuse. That is people that are not logging into their computers as a standard user and malware taking advantage of that situation to be able to take over your machine and obtain your personal information. This website here is also a nice visualization. It's from a website called Information is Beautiful. And if I just slide my my web browser over, hopefully it'll refresh here in a second. What this will show you is current, what all of the big data breaches are, where our information has been taken. Probably the biggest one currently is the Marriott hotels, 383 million people. And if you click on that in here, it would give you further details. So it talks about what the breach was, etc. It's a great resource. It's a good learning tool to be able to go in and talk to individuals in your organization about where we're seeing our data being misused, abused, lost, or simply misplaced. So the link for that is this QR code, which you can always click on at any time in any of the slides when we send a link to you to get to that particular page or additional information. The other big concern, of course, is not only are they stealing our data, but they're also encrypting it so we no longer have access to it. And ransomware is 39% of all malicious software, and that is only going to continue to grow. It is extremely profitable. They're making millions of dollars a month by encrypting your data and asking you to pay for it. The only real defense we have against this, of course, is to make sure that we're properly training staff to not click and open up links in web emails that they receive, and to be using proper antivirus and care when going to websites. Because if we look at this study from a couple of years ago, malicious insiders are a big part of our problem, but web-based attacks is the group I would like to draw to your attention. 65% of our attacks are coming by just visiting a website, and that is where we're getting a lot of our ransomware today. So you go to a website such as about.com or Yahoo or New York Times or Forbes. The ads on those sites are what is running code without your knowledge on your machine, infecting you with whatever they'd like to, and ransomware by far is one of the most popular. So how does this whole infection thing work in your own organization? You put all these great security tools in place, but things keep changing every hour of every day. And what happens is it's gone over the years from being something that just kids were doing for fun to one where it's a profit business, and people are putting significant resources behind infecting your machine and getting to your data to be able to use it to their own benefits. So starting about 2005, it became part of organized crime as the ransomware and other identity theft tools became profitable for them. And today, we actually have not only organized crime, but we have government entities, and all governments are involved in this process where they're trying to be able to get data on individuals and track what's going on in the world. Some people call this a level of warfare, but it is dramatically increased since 2017. So all of these groups are all after us. So we're on a nice healthy machine and we get an email. We think it's a great email, so what we do is we decide that we'll click on an attachment or click on a malicious site link, thinking we're going to a place that we're not actually going to. And that results in us being infected. Now, when we're infected, the first thing we think of doing is, well, I better call support. And when you call support, they decide that they'll log on with their high-level privileges to fix your machine. That immediately results in the identity theft of somebody with better permissions than you have. Once those are obtained, I can now log on and basically control the entire network in your organization. All from somebody clicking on a link or opening up an attachment in an email that they were not expecting. It is definitely a big problem. In addition to that, of course, we have the outright loss of information, either by the loss of a device or the theft of a device. So we can do things to put better security in place. And one of those is for us to make sure that all of our computers and all of our phones are encrypted. And what this simply means is that the hard drive has been mixed up with a technology called encryption that takes a algorithm and mixes up every little piece of information on the device, making it unreadable unless you know the code to unlock the encryption. This means that if I was to lose a computer or lose a laptop or a phone or a tablet, the person that gets the device is not able to read the data on the device. They're not able to remove the hard drive from the device and then read the data on it. It is unreadable and unusable to them. And encryption is not hard to do. Everybody can do it. All devices we have today give us that ability. It's built into Windows 10 Pro. There's free versions available as well. For example, VeraCrypt, a free version, which you could run if you're using Windows 7. And on our phones and tablets, most of those have it built into the operating system as well. In the case of iPhones and iPads, actually just having a password to log into the device has encrypted the device for you. It is very strong. Governments are actually complaining about it worldwide because they're unable to get on these devices if they do not know the password to unencrypt the device. So it's extremely good encryption that we have today. When we look at what identity theft is, this is the definition from the Office of the Privacy Commissioner of Canada. It is a great resource. There are lots of great articles there and papers and documentation on security. And as business owners or people working in a business, it is our responsibility to make sure that identity theft doesn't occur with all of the data that we have. Payroll data, customer data, vendor data, individual, personal, identifiable information must be protected. And there's lots of great material there for you to go and look at to get yourself familiar with some of the things that are available today. There is a little bit of confusion between what a theft is and fraud is. I've got a short definition here. Identity fraud, somebody else, living or deceased, impersonating you. That is when we have identity fraud. So first somebody steals your information, then typically they sell it to a third party who then uses it for fraudulent purposes. We do have the Canadian Anti-Fraud Center. This has got lots of great information at it, including material on training that you can offer in your office, current fraud and identity theft schemes that are taking place. For example, those CRA phone calls that many of you have received. CRA is going to throw you in jail. It's fraud-based. They're attempting to get some identity information from you and hopefully some funds from you. That report that you're looking at now, the summary, is quite old. It's from 2015. Unfortunately, the website decided that they would only make this information available to those in the police organization. So this is the last time it was made available, coming up to 4 years ago. This is numbers for Canada. It's the Center for Anti-Fraud in Canada. And you can see the dollar amounts and losses from identity theft that's taken place here. I know a lot of people think that Canada is a small place and it's not, we don't have to worry about it, but the world, in fact, is a small place today. So this is a screenshot I took, and this just gives you an example of the additional stuff that you can find at the website. Cryptocurrency, a new mass marketing cryptocurrency scheme is gaining popularity again, and many times we're aware of it ourselves. It is, I think, an important role for us to take that information and make sure our family members are aware of it. Talk to your children about it, talk to your parents or grandparents about it, to make sure that they're aware of what's going on in the world today, and just have a better awareness so that when something does happen, they have some concept of what is going on. They get one of those weird phone calls, they know it's not real. Okay, you've got identity and it has been stolen. Now what are you going to do? Well, immediately change your email password. That is the place that if they have that piece of identifiable information, your email address with its password, that is where they can then go log into all kinds of different services that you use and say, I forgot my password. When that happens, what do those services do? They send it to you in your email. So email password is crucial. And if you feel you've had any identity theft, that is the first place to change. There are other items in the list here for you to consider, but the big one, of course, is getting that email password changed. Very first thing to do. This list is from the RCMP, steps to take. They recommend reporting to your local police, and reporting it to your financial institution. And if it is on Facebook or Kijiji or Twitter or one of these other online services, you should be also informing them. I recently was aware of a person whose Facebook identity had been stolen, and Facebook, when we contacted them about it, was very quick to go and correct the situation. So it is important to keep in mind that they are there to help you in the event that it does happen. You should also look at going to Equifax and TransUnion to put flags on your accounts. You can actually do that before fraud takes place. So this is a screenshot I took when I registered at TransUnion. And they will give me any kind of warnings for unusual activity on my account. And I would recommend doing this for both TransUnion and Equifax here in Canada. You must respond to privacy breaches at your office as well in the event that your identity theft takes place at the workplace. I've got a link here to the fact sheet about it. This law came into effect back in 2015, and surprisingly, it was just last November that they said that they would start to assess the fines and penalties that the Act provides to them. That's a minimum of $10,000 up to $100,000. Essentially, you must have a plan in place in the event that a breach does take place and identity theft happens from that breach. Failure to do so, as I mentioned, is $100,000. I have a link to that material as well for you to add into your all the reading that you have to do. Some things that we can do personally to reduce identity theft. First of all is talk to your children. They should know not to share passwords, for example. Only give information that's absolutely required. Watch a lot of websites. They ask for a whole bunch of information when you're looking for something, and really there's only 2 or 3 fields that are required. If they're asking for too much information, decide whether it's actually worth it or not. There's great guidance at the Privacy Commissioner's website covering credit cards and mail and phone and what to carry in your wallet and what not to carry in your wallet, and online guidelines to help reduce your risk. A great material. Highly recommend visiting that site. So to wrap things up, I'm going to go through 7 simple things to do right now. But before I do that, I bet you Marilyn's biting at the bit to ask you a first polling question.
Thanks, Ward. Everyone loves to answer a polling question. It helps them to earn their verified PD credits. So folks, your screen should be turned blue, and we're asking you a question. Have you ever encountered identity theft? You may have been personally impacted. You may have known someone who's been impacted. You might not have been impacted, but you're certainly worried about it. Or maybe you have no concerns whatsoever. We like all of your responses to come in, and when we see 90%, we close the polls, and we're right there. Thanks for your responses. I'm going to count you down before I close from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm closing the poll, and I'm going to share the results. Are you seeing the results there, Ward?
Yeah, in a very, very tiny screen.
So 14% of our attendees report that they have been personally impacted, 31% that they know someone, 58% don't feel that they know anyone, but they are certainly worried about it, and 6% of folks on the call today are not worried at all.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Back to you.
Great. Let's hit those 7 simple things to do right now to improve security of your devices. And first one, team training. And I've got the entire course here for you. It's pretty obvious. All 5 points need to be covered off in extreme detail. If you're worried that after you do your training session on these 5 points that people still are going to click on it, there are services that you can subscribe to that will actually send out fake spam emails and try to entice people in your office to click on links and open attachments that they're not supposed to be opening. So don't click links or open files in email. Team training, best thing you can do in your office, because everybody's already running antivirus and everybody has a firewall in place, but it's still the weak link is social engineering taking place. People getting an email saying, here's that invoice you're looking for. You know that package that we shipped to you? This is how you can go find out about it. You haven't ordered anything, but you're dying to find out what package is coming. So all of those things need to be stopped. We can't be clicking on that stuff. The second thing, encrypt your hard drive. So this is the screen to do that with Windows 10 Pro. Just simply click on Start, type in BitLocker, and you'll have the opportunity to open up this dialog box. With that open, you simply say, do you want to turn it on for BitLocker? You want to turn it on? There'll be a short little wizard to walk through. There is virtually no impact from encrypting your hard drive. It's less than a 3% impact on performance on slow equipment, and on current equipment today, it's probably less than 1%. So that is not a reason to not encrypt. Often IT people say they don't want to encrypt because it's too difficult to maintain the equipment. I say it is better to lose that piece of equipment and not have to worry about data loss versus the chance that IT needs to do support on the device. I feel that the 3 hours that you've saved the IT person is not worth the risk of losing all of that data. So drive encryption, number 2. Mobile device management. If you're using an email system, for example, Office 365 or G Suite, they have the ability for you to implement controls on devices. This way, when people try to log into your Office email accounts, they are required to have a password on the device. We can set minimum password lengths. The most important one in here, or 2 in here, is after somebody tries their password 6, 7 times, maybe up to 10, if they don't get it, the device should wipe itself. And that way, if somebody's trying to hack into the device and they try a few times, the device is going to be wiped and there's not going to be anything on it. And the second important one to realize here is that a lot of people don't want their devices to auto lock. They think it's inconvenient, and we need to have them auto lock so that when we set our phone down or leave our laptop open somewhere, that it will lock so that people can't get on it without knowing the password. And that helps improve the protection that's available from encryption. Because if I'm logged into the device while I'm logged in, the encryption is, everything can be unencrypted as required on the fly. So we want those devices self-locking. So that's the third thing we can do. The fourth is to turn on multi-factor authentication, sometimes referred to two-step or two-factor verification. As a minimum, you should do this on key accounts, your G Suite account, your Office 365 account, your Microsoft account, your iCloud account. Key accounts that a lot of things revolve around. What this does is it requires you to put in a 6-digit code every time you log into the device. You can, as it shows here in this screenshot, tell it to remember this computer for example, 30 days in this screenshot. So I put the code in on that computer, it won't ask me for 30 days for the code again. If you go to a machine that you don't usually use, or someone else is trying to get into your account, with two-factor authentication, it's not possible. They put in the username, they put in your password that they got somehow, they still can't get on because they don't have that 6-digit code. Changes every 30 seconds. It's a simple app you install on your mobile device. The next is content filtering. And there's lots of services to do this. The one I have on the screen here is called OpenDNS. It's very easy to set up. And what this will do is prevent people from going to places that could be a problem. They even have botnet and malware protection. They keep track of sites that have this as a problem and will stop you from going to it. You can set this up for home or for business. OpenDNS, a great way to improve security. Your password is your protection to your identity, and we need to have a different password for every service that we use. And it's not possible to remember them. It's not even possible to create them. And a password manager does both. It creates the password for you. It'll then fill it in for you automatically. And they works across all of our devices. They sync the passwords across all the devices, and this really can dramatically improve security. If you're using one of those really good passwords like password or 123456, you might as well not bother, because those passwords are so popular that they're broken into almost instantly. Another great thing to do is an ad blocker. The one I personally prefer is called uBlock Origin. This blocks advertisements on websites, and that is where we're getting infections. So it is a great way to improve our security, to prevent people from getting malware on our devices and losing our identity. I managed to do that on time, which is very surprising for me. I'm sure there's lots of questions. Don't hesitate to ask them. We'll make sure to answer them all and get all of those answers back to you. This deck, with all of its links to all of those resources I've mentioned, will be sent out to you within the next 10 days. Marilyn?
Thanks, Ward. We have one more poll question before we do a handover. So folks, we're leading towards your thoughts for our next mini webinar, which happens in March, and it's on the topic of security. So I'd like you to think about, when it comes to security, and you can select all that apply, are you concerned about a cloud-based provider's level of security? Are you concerned that your data might be stored outside of Canada? Are you doing any accounting in the cloud? Or maybe none of what we're talking about in this slide is appropriate for you. Lots of fast responses. We're already at 88%. Thanks for that. I'm going to be counting you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Well, let's see those results. So 70% of folks on the call are concerned about a cloud-based provider's security, and 57% of folks are concerned about having data stored outside of Canada. 31% of the people on the call today are doing their accounting in the cloud, and there's a few folks, 17%, that didn't find an answer that suited them today. Thanks for your responses, everyone. All right, Jeffrey, I think it's time for you. I'm going to be changing you to the presenter.
Great, thank you, Marilyn. Just select my screen here, and you should be able to see making the most of Profile.
We do, thank you.
Awesome, thank you so much, Marilyn. So Profile, what is Profile? Profile is a professional tax preparation software, and it's created by a company called Intuit, which also develops the software QuickBooks. Just switch over. So as a tax preparer, how do we spend most of our time? Well, it will probably be chasing data from our clients, trying to get information, input the information into the tax file, entering or even researching the data to make sure that it is accurate. And we're always looking for ways to save time and making sure that that data is accurate. As an accountant, 65% again of the tax preparer time is spent chasing client data, and a third of the accountant's time is spent on year-end processes. So getting the books ready so that they can import that data into the tax preparation software. So here comes Profile. Profile is known as one of the top pro-tax softwares in Canada. And I'll give you some of the reasons why our customers consider us as a top provider for tax preparation software. The top 10 reason customers love Profile is given here. But I think before we get started, maybe we can take that first survey question, Marilyn.
Great idea, Jeffrey. Thanks for that.
Thank you so much.
So folks, we'd like to get a sense of who's in the call today. And when you're using tax software, if you could identify the tax software that you're currently using. It could be Tax Prep, CanTax, Tax Cycle, Profile, or potentially you're not using some tax software today. It helps to us to know who's on the call. Lots of fast and great responses. Thanks, everyone. We're already at 90%. I will count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. And I'm just going to share those results. 12% of folks on the call today, Jeffrey, are using Tax Prep.
Awesome.
And split between 9% CanTax Tax Cycle, 15% are Profile, and 55% of the folks on the call today didn't find their tax software or it wasn't applicable to them in that list.
Great. Thank you, folks. So top 10 reasons why customers love Profile. And the first one would be, let me give you a stat, CRA stats, 16 million e-filed returns, and a good percentage of that is e-filed through Profile. Top reason why people love the software is the ability to create prior year returns. What does that mean? It means that when you purchase the software, you're able to work with any tax year that you need to. For example, with the T1s or TP1s, you can go as far back as 1997. So if you purchase the software today, you can work with a 2006 tax return or 2009 or 2014. And that's built within the one activation that you purchase currently. So if you were to buy the 2018, you can create any return prior to the prior years. And so you can go as far back as 1997. Another reason is the ability to carry forward files. So a lot of people were using Tax Prep or they were using CanTax. If you decide to move forward and try out Profile and you say, hey, this is a great software, I'd like to make the switch, you can take your CanTax file or your Tax Prep file and carry forward it into Profile. And there's an ability to do that within the software. You could even do it with DT Max if you've worked with DT Max in the past. Another time-saving feature within Profile is the data entry, or being able to take the CRA data import or AFR and apply it from the CR website and import your client's data. Of course, you would have to fill in your authorization before you do that, access the CRA website and import their data, such as their slips or any amounts carried forward from the prior year. Profile also has a built-in, very powerful auditor, and I always call this the tax preparer buddy because it enables you to make sure that if there's any errors within your return, if there's any omissions that you may be missing, any dates that may be incorrect, it'll give you notices or some notices or ideas on what you need to do within the software to efficiently or optimize the return, and also show you what data has been imported in whether it was a carry forward, whether it was an AFR or data import or calculations. If you're working with T2s or corporate returns, you have the ability to Giphy import. So being able to take the books to tax, meaning say for example, QuickBooks or Caseware or any accounting software, exporting the Giphy and being able to import it into the tax return. So you could do that if you're working with QuickBooks Online. You can do that by importing it from QuickBooks, or if you're working with QuickBooks Desktop, you can use the QuickBooks Desktop import feature. And if you're working with any other software, all you have to do is just export it and then use the import feature under the file menu. Another reason would be the cloud backup. Now, this is something that I've come across a lot with clients throughout the years that I've been with Profile. And they would give us a call and they would say, I had a corrupted file, or I lost a file. I'm not sure where it is on my system, but I have this folder that that keeps my backup, but I wasn't able to restore it from that folder. And if you've, and this is something recent within Profile, you can upload a copy of a backup of that file to Profile Review. This is no additional cost to you if you're interested. It's built within the system. With Profile Review, all you'd have to do is just create an account, turn on and enable that feature within the return under the file properties, and upload a copy of that client's return. And it would be backed up to the cloud. Now, a good question a lot of people ask me is it secure enough to, since we're talking about security today by Ward, and that was a great topic, cloud backup, where does it get backed up to? Well, it gets backed up to our Intuit servers, which is encrypted at the highest level. And I believe they've mentioned that it's encrypted at the bank level encryption. So it's pretty high when it comes to security. Another reason is refiling returns. So you come across a return, your client comes to you and says, I have additional information that I need to add to my return. Can you add that or amend my return and refile my return? And it's pretty easy when it comes to Profile. All you'd have to do is, and this is something again that's new within Profile in the last few years, all you'd have to do is just do the amendment, fill in the T1 refile request form, let Profile know that it is an amended tax return by indicating yes, fill in the information, and then under the e-file menu, you can refile the return. There's also something called Express NOA, and you would fill that in on the T183, put in your authorization that you want to refile the return, or sorry, get an express notice of assessment. And of course, you need your authorization from your client to be able to do this. But once you have that, you can indicate for an express NOA, and it's pretty instantaneously. I think it takes less than 24 hours, and sometimes it's pretty quick for you to get some kind of result back, knowing their notice or getting their notice of assessment through the CRA website. Reason number 8, and this is again another new feature within Profile, and this is something that people have been asking us for years. How do I use all the systems that I own? For example, we have a client who owns 3 machines, but only has the budget for purchasing one license. With flexible licensing, they can use that same license on the 3 machines. All you'd have to do, and again, this is built within Profile, no additional cost to you. It's built within Profile. All you'd have to do is just enable flexible licensing on the computer. And once you close Profile on System 1, you're able to go to System 2, install Profile, use the same activation code, and enable flexible licensing on the 2nd machine, close Profile, go on the 3rd machine, and do the same steps as I just mentioned. And you'll be able to work from computer to computer without purchasing additional licenses. So that is something called flexible licensing, and it's built within Profile. Number 9 is Hub and Link, which is a data management tool which enables you to easily access your client's files and organize it accordingly. You can do a quick search for your client files. You can filter it according to years. You can even do a CRA data import through Hub. Link is a extended feature that works with Hub, and Link is a portal that enables you to collaborate with your client, whether it's retrieving slips or expense reports or anything that you would need to create the tax return. And your client can log into the portal securely, and they can upload anything that is needed, and you can retrieve that information and apply it to the return. At the moment, there isn't a data import tool where you look at for example, an expense invoice and take that information and put it straight into a tax return. You would have to take that information and input it manually into the return. And the last one is our support, whether it's through our phone line, and we have extended hours right now with our busy season, and you're able to reach out to us from 9 to 8 o'clock Monday to Friday. Saturdays, we've extended it from 12 to 5. So 6 days a week during the peak season, which is right now. You can also reach out to us via live chat, which is the same hours as our phone lines. And email is another avenue that you can use to reach out to us. And we have live webinars, which I do on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I think before I get into what's new for tax year 2019, maybe we can post the next questions for those here, Marilyn. That way we can get that going.
Great idea, Jeffrey. Thanks for that. So folks, if you're using a current tax software, we'd like you to choose your favorite feature. CRA import could be data management, client collaboration, batch filing, or maybe none of those questions apply to you today. We've had 4 poll questions in total, and in order to earn a verified PD credit, we need to see responses from you for either 3 or 4 of those questions. We're right at 90%. Thanks for your responses. I'm going to count you down from 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. I'm going to close and share the results. Well, Jeffrey, the CRA import feature for those who use tax software is their favorite, followed by data management. Back to you.
I remember a lot of people were hesitant at first when they were using that option, but as the years passed, people became more comfortable with that, and that's great to see. Okay, so what is new within Profile? With the T2 filing, you can now file the RC59 electronically. Same with the RC59X. So one The RC59 is the authorization. The RC59X is the cancellation of the authorization. And that's available now within the profile software for the T2 Corporation module. You also have T2 autofill, which is something new this year, where you're able to, of course, get your authorization first from your client, and you can autofill the information right into a corporate return when you access the CRA website. T1 filing for the RC59 is going to be available in a future release. I believe it's this year that will be available, so look out for that. Data import or AFR for T2, which I mentioned above as the first point, is available to you now for this year. Profile 20, this is something that our clients have been asking. You know, I'm going through a sunset with my business, and I don't do as many returns as I used to, and I do my friends and my family's returns, and I don't need to purchase any more than 20 returns. And so we really heard that feedback. So what we did was we created something called Profile 20, and that enables you to purchase 20 returns, meaning you can create as many as 20 returns with Profile by purchasing a less expensive activation code. Okay, and that's available to us. You can purchase it online, or you can call a sales agent for that. Post-bankruptcy returns is something that was added within our bankruptcy forms, and you can take that information quickly and create a post-bankruptcy return from the bankruptcy form. All you have to do is just right-click, fill in the information, of course, right-click that form, and there'll be an option available to you to create a post-bankruptcy return. And the last one is customizing the foreign exchange rates. And so people have been asking, I have these foreign exchange rates that aren't available in your software. How do I create or add them within your software? And all you'd have to do is just go to that foreign exchange rate form, and there's a section where you can add customizable rates. For example, my parents are from the Philippines. The pesos rate is a certain rate. I can add that rate in under the customized section, and it will be available to me anytime within that return. Okay, so if it's not available in the software, you can add it in using this customizable section within the foreign exchange form, and you can add that rate in. So let's revisit the percentages. 65% of tax preparers' time is spent chasing client data. So some of the things that you can do is to save you time is you can do an AFR, as you mentioned, as everyone likes that feature. So you can use AFR, you can do a carry forward, you can even use the collaboration tool that I mentioned called Link within our software, which will enable you to collaborate with your client, upload anything that is needed, like slips or expense forms or expense invoices, and that will save you some time in chasing your client and putting the data in. And a third of the accountants spend time with year-end processes. And with Profile working with QuickBooks, it saves you a lot of time. You can see that the typical year-end process is working with an accounting software, and then you have a separate professional tax prep software. Your work management through the accounting software has to be done. You're answering or asking questions to your customer. You're using special tools to have your accounting software communicate with your tax preparation software. You also need document management within your tax preparation software. So it could be very inefficient. The one thing too with QuickBooks Online, as a QuickBooks Online accountant, you can now, and this is something I didn't mention within what's new, is if you are a QBOA subscriber, there is a feature called ProTax, which enables you to work with the same engine built within Profile T2s, and it's built within ProTax, and it's separate from Profile, and that's built within your QBOA account. And right now, I believe it's still available for you to try out and use. Down the road, they may place a price on it. So check that out, look for it. It's called ProTax within the QBOA. So to create an efficiency and save some time, what we've done is we've created an ecosystem that has integrated our bookkeeping software into our tax preparation software. And as I mentioned with QBOA and ProTax, it's becoming one ecosystem where you work on the books for your client, and then you're able to quickly go into preparing a tax return for your client. Okay. So as we move forward, QuickBooks and Profile will be working together. Right now, there's a lot of features within QuickBooks and Profile that are enabling you to integrate the two softwares quickly and efficiently. And as we move forward, we'll be taking more technologies and more of things that we can do online to be able to create that one ecosystem that will help you become a lot more efficient. And that looks like my time is up. Thank you everyone for your time. Thank you, Marilyn, for the opportunity, and Alan, I really appreciate that you include me into these sessions.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Always exciting to see what's happening over at Intuit. And the integration to QuickBooks is very, very exciting. I'm going to be moving over to Ward now. Ward, are you there?
Hi, how are you?
Good.
You asked me if I was online at the same time she unmuted me. So the unmuter voice always wins. Did you know that? Always. Anyway, while the session was going on, like everybody else, I was checking my email. By the way, Jeff, thanks very much. I enjoyed your session. Picked up a couple of great new features there with Profile. One of the emails I got was Cyber Heist News. This is from a company called KnowBe4, and it just talks about Wendy's paying $50 million because of a data breach. The data breach was on point of sale systems, and how did they get in? They got in to start with, you guessed it, a phishing email attack. So for more information on tales of true tech crimes and going through breaches that have happened and why they happened, a great way for you to look to see where your defenses may be short, and also providing some great suggestions, additional security suggestions. You can always check out our webinar. It's going to be on April 17th, starting at 2 Eastern. And that's just $79. We'll send you the link for that session if it's of interest to you. Coming up, our next webinar in this Road to Excellence series is on March 5th, and that's with Alan talking about Excel. This is another one of his guru sessions, and Adagio talking about their great reporter, financial reporter. On behalf of Marilyn, myself, and Jeffrey, I'd like to say thank you very much. You'll hear get links to all this material within 10 days, and we'll make sure to get back to all of your questions at that time. Have yourselves a great day, and bye.